You've just opened the soup can. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the many flavors we offer as we ask Soup No O. Hello and welcome to the soup can. Stop smiling. I'm your host, Campbell's, and today in studio I have a very special guest, hiker Larry.
Me.
Yeah, you. He's here to answer the burning question of Soup No O with him and all his experiences on the trail that so many of us followed and enjoyed on the Facebook through his picture album, I guess. Photo album, I don't know.
Like a daily photo journal,
Yeah.
how I put it.
So, I guess we'll just start off simple. Welcome back. I've missed you. I'm glad you're back. And
Missed the
to
family.
have my brother back that I can annoy every day again now. But I did miss talking to you, even if it was just, quick.
Yeah, we definitely had like a daily texting thing.
Yeah, I mean, we would have, random nonsense, but it was just always great to be able to do that. And I would send you random texts while you're on the trail, knowing that, it could be like 3-4 days before you respond, especially after you would give the updates to Mom, saying you're in the mountains, and I'd want to give you some encouragement to get through the mountains, because I know.
The weird thing, though, and I didn't notice this until near the end of the hike, is you could have texted my Garmin at any time.
Yeah, but it was
anytime.
It was always a different number.
It was always a different number.
It came through on my phone as always a different number. This may be Larry.
I don't know. Mom always had an easy time texting me.
I don't know.
I just thought maybe you deleted the text thread or something, but whatever.
But I'm glad you fit me in real quick. You just got back.
Yes.
On Saturday, right?
Last Saturday, so I haven't even been home a week yet.
And you surprised Mom.
Yeah, so I told Mom I was coming. I told everybody in the family I was going to be back Saturday afternoon at some point.
Right.
But I didn't know if they had anything planned, but Mom was like such a huge support for me out there. Like, she was always putting together my resupplies when I needed them.
Yeah.
And I checked with her in the morning and at night, so she was like a huge part of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, I wanted to just surprise her. And I show up at the house on Friday night, 9:30 p.m., and we live on a dead-end street. Nobody comes knocking on our door. Nobody. So I knock on the door, and Mom peeks open, and she's just like, oh my God. She opens the door, gives me a big hug. She's like, oh, I miss you so much. And, we had like our moment or whatever, and she's just really happy to see me. And then she calls up for Dad, and she's like, Joe, you got to come down here. There's somebody at the door, and they want to see you. But Mom's emotional.
Okay.
So her voice is shaky and whatever. And Dad, he's like, he told me he was coming down the stairs ready to hit whoever was at the door, because he's like, it's 9:30 at night. Who comes knocking at our door?
I can see that with Dad, yeah.
So that's how I came home and I surprised Mom.
That's
And then she's like, well, if you're staying here tonight, I have to show you what the surprise was. And the surprise was they made this really big sign on sticks that said, welcome home, Hiker Larry. It had 2 balloons that said, welcome back. And that was really cool.
Yeah, that's one great story on how to come back. And then I was happy that, we got to come over and have dinner with you.
Yep.
However brief it was, but that's another story. You had other things to take care of when you first got back. But now, as you and I had talked previous via text, you had an interesting side effect to you going out on the trail. And that's really why I had texted you and asked if you would come on to the soup can or come into the soup can with me. One, you're awesome to talk to anyway, but the interesting side effect is you became somewhat of an inspiration to people back here. You left at the end of May when things were still closed down and the state was on lockdown. You couldn't do anything, but that never deterred you from going. And back here, when you left and you started sharing those pictures, Mom would share those pictures, Kristen would share those pictures. I started to, but then I was like, I'll let them do that.
Yeah.
But a following started with you.
Yeah, that was... So it's weird, like, you do something that you were inspired to do by other people. Like, doing the PCT, there were a lot of things that inspired me to do. A lot of people that I was able to watch online. So, to me, it was just, this is my inspiration. This adventure was inspired by others. And then over time, after seeing, because Mom would text me and tell me like, you've got people asking questions on some of my posts of your pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and then I start seeing like, oh my gosh, there's like a lot of people that are following along with this, and then I start to see that it's having like a positive influence. Like not only my friends, but my mom and her friends are saying that this has been like an incredible thing considering the confusing times that we've lived through in the last 6 months.
And and the different groups, I'll say, of friends that I have with the Masonic family, Eastern Stars, DMLAs, advisors, people that I worked with that don't even know you. I would mention, in conversation, hey, my brother's doing this. He's going on this 2,600-mile hike. That's, we're all prepping to help him get on his way and stuff like that. And weeks would go by, and these people that you never even met, how's your brother doing out on that trail? It's like, you still remember I told you that?
I mean, how many times do you get to tell somebody that,
exactly.
I know somebody that's going for a really long walk, and then you tell them where, and they're like,
well, unless you're going to Mordor.
There were some places that looked like Mordor. Not in red and fire. Well,
right.
some places
more
were red
like Rohan. If you don't know
when the
Lord
fires
of the Rings,
broke out, it looked like Mordor for sure.
But you said, and we'll circle back to all the people that you inspired and everything. But you said this journey was inspired by other people for you.
Yeah.
What got you into hiking? Let's start there.
I mean, well, let me. One of the main influences that like really got me to start focusing on executing this.
Mm-hmm.
There was this other hiker from years ago. She had posted a video of her completing the PCT.
Now hold on, is it Pacific Crest or Pacific Coast?
Pacific Crest Trail.
Okay, I said it both ways while you were going. I just
her name's Muck Muck on YouTube, and you can look this video up. But,
okay.
We do distance running, and
Mm-hmm.
we've run races and stuff, so we know what the feeling is like when you approach the end and you're giving it your all and crossing the finish line, right?
Right.
So I would watch videos of guys doing that because I love seeing it. That's inspiring, and it inspires me to go out and run. And for some reason, one day it crossed my mind to like, what's it look like when somebody finishes the PCT? So I looked that up, and there's this really great video of Muck Muck. She's just doing her daily vlog, and she's talking to the camera. She comes around this corner, and there's the northern terminus. That's like the end of a northbound hike. And she just stops, like dead in her tracks. She's crying. She's by herself. It's kind of raining out. There's nobody else there, but this huge monumental moment for this person. And the feeling I got from that video, I was like, I gotta chase that. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really when I was like, can I do this? And then it turned from can I do this is I'm gonna do this. And then I'm gonna do this is I'm here. And it all started from that little video where it was like, that planted the seed of me actually starting to put it together.
That's awesome.
But
see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but to go, further back, what got me into hiking, Algonac. Algonac State Park. I learned how to cut kindling. I learned how to start fires. I learned how to set up tents.
Okay.
Grandpa Russner taught me how to cut the kindling.
Yeah.
So he taught me how to use a hatchet. I mean, that's not exactly hiking, but it got me into the outdoors.
Yeah, it's a starting point.
Yeah. So all the camping that we did growing up and all the outdoor stuff, going up to Gladwin, all of that. Sleeping in tents wherever. But then there was a trip that my friend Seth had asked me to go on to Pictured Rocks.
Okay.
And this was my first, and I'd gone camping before.
Right.
I'd never done a real backcountry backpacking trip where you start at one point and hike on a trail for miles. And this trip couldn't have gone any worse. First of all, we didn't know what we were in for, so we do this thing, and basically what happened was we did, I think, a day and a half of hiking, so we barely got halfway through. We thought we could do it in 3 days. No.
Okay.
Pictured Rocks Trail is easy in comparison to the PCT, but it's not...
Well, it's like a hop, skip, and a jump now compared to the PCT
it really
for
is,
you.
It really is. But when I look at it, like 50 miles, so 50 miles on the PCT, that's, 2.5 days. That's 2.5 days on the PCT. So I should be able to hike Pictured Rocks now, no problem. And in my head, sure. But back then, 50 miles, that's a long hike. We're going to do that in 3 days? Holy cow. So we did a day and a half of hiking. My two friends got really exhausted, and they were like, we can't finish. We'll just send Larry to go get the car. So I don't know how many miles I hiked to get to the car. It was something like 10 or 12 miles in a day just to get there. And I had no perspective on how to hike these types of miles either.
Okay.
I was like, I just want to go and see Pictured Rocks. And I get the car and I go back, and they ended up, there was some trail magic, which is what we call it on the PCT when someone offers you a ride, some food, whatever.
Okay.
But at the time, it was just some nice people. And they came across these RV campers that had pizza and a couple of sodas. They gave them that. So when I got back to my friends with the car, they had pizza and soda waiting for me, and I was like, oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was like my first real backpacking trip in the backcountry, and that's.
We won't talk about my pictured rock.
I feel like we should.
I feel like
I got all the.
I feel like you got all the hiker genes, and I just got.
Yeah.
The good look.
I'll just go over what your gear was.
No, let's not. We got to move on. According to my notes, that's not here. Okay. I had the worst.
What was it like sleeping in a pink plastic bag?
It was hot. And a good sleeping bag, though.
I do tell that story to people, though.
Good.
Like, so I got to tell you the story about my brother when we went hiking. And
good.
It was the last backpacking trip you ever did.
Well, I do other things.
Yeah, you do other things.
I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't travel to Portugal this year.
Yeah, I was super bummed about it. I was looking forward to the pictures.
Oh, dude, it was gonna be beautiful. But anyway,
so that's what really got me into hiking. It was all the camping and stuff growing up. That video from Muck Muck and the backcountry trip with my friend Seth.
Now Muck Muck, I don't know anything about this person. Now Muck Muck would be a trail name.
Yeah, Muck Muck's a trail
someone
name.
gave her or she gave herself.
It can go either way.
Okay.
Some people will come up with their own trail name. There was a guy out there. His name was Grateful. And he was hiking. The reason he gave himself the name Grateful was because he was grateful for the sacrifice. I believe this is why he did it. He was grateful for the sacrifices that veterans made for this country. I think
cool.
I think that's what it was. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So yeah, he gave himself his trail name.
Okay.
I didn't pick my trail name, but I did accept the first one that was given to me, which I was really stoked about. My trail name was Bird.
Not Birdie.
Not Birdie, just Bird. Well, the variants were Papa Bird, Spirit of Bird. And Papa Bird and Spirit of Bird were the other ones that stuck. And then I had like a kind of a secret trail name that only
was it
knew about.
just Bird or
just Bird?
Just no kind of bird, just Bird.
Just Bird. I have 4 bird tattoos. I'm pigeon-toed. My name's Larry, so Larry Bird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mama Cass, she gave me that. I met Mama Cass on day 2.
You met Mama Cass that soon. I didn't realize that.
It was like real soon.
Okay.
On the trail. I was leaving Mount Laguna campground, and Mount Laguna campground has a party store like right down the street where you can get all kinds of food. It's one of those party stores that serves like a full menu.
Okay.
So I went there, got a cheeseburger and soda, and then I got back on trail. As I'm leaving the campground to get back on trail, I see this girl sitting there. She's got kind of crazy orange colored hair. She's sitting there eating a cheeseburger, and introduced myself, and I was like, "You ever done anything like this?" She's like, "Yeah, I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2018." This girl's 22, by the way.
That Mama Cass.
Yeah. So she hiked it. Was it 2 years ago?
Okay.
When she was 20 years old. She did the whole Appalachian Trail. So she's doing another through hike.
Good for her.
Yeah. So I was like, well, if you don't mind, I'll hike with you for a little while because I don't really know what I'm doing out here. And as much planning as you thought I did on this,
you did.
Holy cow!
There was almost talked about.
No planning.
Wow.
It was okay. So yeah, I met Mama Cass on day 2. I'll finish this train of thought, and then I'll tell you about the planning thing. So after a couple of days hiking alone in the desert, I think I hiked alone in the desert for about a week. Even though I met her on day 2, our hiking habits didn't really sync up until after Idlewild. So I saw her again on the trail randomly. We'd be going back and forth. I'd break, I'd see her, she'd keep going or whatever.
Okay.
And then after Idlewild, that's when we really synced up. We met a couple other hikers there, and that was 2 weeks in.
You were by yourself for almost 2 weeks, other than the random times you'd see Mama Cass?
Yeah, there was a few times closer to. No, yeah, that's pretty much how it went. Wow. The first 2 weeks, I was really alone out there.
Did you have that mindset? And then I'll let you finish your thought.
Yeah.
But people want to know, did you have in your head that you were gonna hike this alone?
Oh yeah.
Or did you expect to meet people on the trail?
I mean, I knew I was gonna meet people, but my whole plan was for solitude. I wanted to go out there and really be alone. But here's the thing, man. I was traveling across the country to go hike in the woods on a year where the numbers of the people that hike this trail are significantly down. I'm saying 7,000 people in a normal year. There were 700
Do
of us.
the through hike or just hike on the trail?
They attempt the through hike. 7,000 start the hike. Only 40% of those finish. But that's still thousands of people, right?
Right.
There were only 700 of us out there this year. So there was nobody hiking the trail. So the fact that I got to hike with 2 really great people for almost the entire thing, pretty amazing. But yeah, I planned on going out there to do the thing alone. My strategy was to get into town, get out of town, not stay in hotels or anything.
Okay.
I learned very quickly after Idlewild that going into town and taking a 0 or 2 zeros was going to be one of the best parts of the trip.
And a 0, for those of you who don't know, is a day where you don't hike.
Yeah, you hike 0 miles. Another thing I'll probably reference is Neros. Neros is when you go out on trail and you hike less than 15 miles. That's a Nero.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I had a question that everybody else was asking, but I totally forgot.
Check your notes.
It's not there because the really on these notes, it's chicken scratch for basic bullet points. What the hell was I gonna say? I don't know. We'll just move on to something else. It'll come to me.
There's lots of stuff to talk about, man.
I mean, you started off pretty much in the desert, right? Because you started in Southern California.
Yeah.
Basically the Mexico border.
Yeah.
You're like 6 miles north of that
desert,
or something.
Man, that is the absolute desert right there.
Yeah. How was that?
So the desert, I actually feel like I performed better than expected in the desert. There was definitely sections of the trail where I didn't perform very well. And when I say perform, it means my pace slowed significantly.
Okay.
I could keep my average pace for most of the trail was somewhere between 3 and 3.5 miles per hour, which that's cooking. That's pretty good.
I don't even run that fast.
Yeah. But the desert, considering the lack of water, and I can attribute this to like cross country running in the summer times. I think that helped me understand how to continue to move and preserve water.
Okay.
When there's not much around, because I could definitely hike. My rule of thumb in the desert was, if you, and this changed as I got to places where the water was plentiful, but in the desert, I had a maximum carrying capacity of 6 liters.
Okay.
So I could carry 6 liters of water on me if I had to. Most of the time I was able to carry 3. If I entered the double digits, I always had 3 liters of water on me. Like as far as mileage, like if it's 12 miles to the next water source, 3 to 4 liters of water on you.
Okay.
In the desert. Anything less than that, I'd carry 2 liters. But yeah, I think I did really well in the desert. I started off doing 20-mile days in the desert. Most people start off doing significantly less than that.
I think you had it in your head that you wanted to get through the desert quick.
Well, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the Mojave, it was June, and summer weather had set in. And
I saw the stuff you had sent back. You had sent back your umbrella. I think that raggedy pair of gloves. I don't think you threw those away because you, or whatever.
Oh yeah, my sun gloves.
Your sun gloves, that umbrella. It was just. It looked like it'd been through.
Well, the umbrella was not. It did not look like that when I sent it back. My umbrella did not. That was from shipping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the umbrella, like that shiny chrome kind of thing, that was all intact when I sent it home.
Shipping.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I sent that stuff home after I had hiked 700 miles in the desert, because 700 miles is the end of the desert.
He says it like it's nothing, folks.
If you compare the Sierras in northern Washington to the desert is nothing. Because the Sierras and northern Washington were the hardest parts of the entire trail. Like I said, I did well in the desert.
Yeah.
I struggled in the Sierras.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say that I struggled in Washington, because I was told, and this was really interesting, there was this guy named Piper. I met him in Skykomish, I believe, which is one of the last trail towns to pick up a resupply. Okay. It's like you're getting real close to the end there. But he had told me that you're the hiker you need to be to finish this thing. And that was in Washington. And that stuck with me, because every time we struggled with something, because we had a lot of hard days. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but we had like 4 or 5 really tough days that most people probably would have said, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Is it weather or just
weather.
fatigue?
Weather.
Or just the
weather.
Okay.
Yeah. But I kept telling myself, like, I'm the hiker I need to be to finish this. And there was really nothing that could stop me at that point,
And there was never a doubt back here that we thought you weren't going to make it.
No, because there was no quitting, man.
We did get bummed when you had to take those couple of zeros at the end. We're like,
yeah,
he's got to finish.
Well,
Everybody was just waiting.
Yeah, there was no doubt that I was
when you sent back that you were, 20 some miles from the end and you had to take a 0 or something?
Yeah, so
we were just
kind of all over the place as far as the journey, but what happened at the end is
we can come back to it if you want.
No. I'll tell this one and then.
Yeah, I don't have any structure really, just some bullet points, but
because the borders are closed, you can't get into Manning Park, which is north of the northern terminus on the trail.
Okay.
It's 8 miles into Canada, and from there you can get to a major highway that can get you. So it's instead of hiking 30 miles from Hart's Pass and then 30 miles from the terminus back to Hart's Pass, you could just go into Canada and hike an extra 8 miles, and then you're done.
And you'd find a trail angel to help you out?
Yeah,
okay.
And that's usually what people do. This year, it was you could hike from Hart's Pass to the terminus, take your photos, turn right around and go back.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it's not like, see, this is something that I call the typical PCT behavior.
Okay.
The PCT does not give you anything for free. Nothing. You want water? Okay, if it's uphill, you got to climb down there to get it. If it's uphill, you have to climb down there to go get it. Like, you got to climb down a hill, 6 miles, and then climb up another one to go get your water.
Jeez.
You want to set camp? It's down there, but you got to go up there to get it. It's just that kind of backward stuff. And, of course, the PCT at the end, 90% of the trip, 85 degrees, clear skies, sunny weather. The last 30 miles, though, no. It pissed rain and snow for 3 days straight. Before that, it was 5 days of rain on the trail in one of the hardest sections in Washington.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, you finished, and you as you said, you were the hiker you needed to be. Let's go back. I know we kind of jumped all over the place a little bit here real fast. Let's go back to PCT day 1, day 0, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
What was your mindset when you set foot and saw mile 0 and you just looked at the trail?
Well, my mindset, like, okay, so I actually got dropped off at this place called the Campo Green Store, and I picked up a couple snacks there, and I set up camp behind the Green Store at this train museum or whatever. It's like a weird little dicey part of town that you can set up camp up. You're not really supposed to camp there, but it's okay to. But the next day after the Green Store, I walked to the terminus, and this is May 15, I believe. Or it's like it was the day before I was supposed to start, but I was so excited. I was also kind of sick. The plane ride gave me motion sickness, and I had a migraine that wouldn't quit.
You don't fly well, do you?
No, I hate flying.
Okay.
So I get to the terminus, and on my way there, the trail, I ended up on the trail. So I was walking towards the terminus, and I start seeing PCT emblems on the road, and I'm like, well, I know I'm on the PCT, but I'm not going north yet. So you guys, when I started texting you saying, like, I'm officially on the trail, I had already been to the terminus, taken some photos, and started walking north, even though I had already come from that way. What I should have did is had my driver take me to the monument and then hiked up to the Green Store.
Oh, gotcha.
But
with the motion sickness and all that, the excitement overtook you to get started a day early.
Oh yeah, it was all smiles, man. Like, I felt like garbage. That was another reason why I got my bird, or the trail name Bird. During the night, because of the motion sickness and the migraine, I had this really strange dream that a huge raven came and ripped open my tent and like welcomed me into the desert. This was before I knew that ravens existed in the desert. I didn't think that ravens were there. I thought they were like a northern foresty type bird.
Ravens are dope.
Yeah, but there was tons of them. They were there the whole trip. So they was kind of, and I even remember writing.
They're big too.
Before I got the trail name Bird, I have a journal entry that asks the question, I wonder if birds are going to be a common theme on this trip.
Great.
And then I got the trail name Bird.
That your nickname is awesome. I dig that, with the tattoos and stuff like that. But you said trail journal. Now you kept one, as to my recollection, as best you could every single day.
Yeah, I tried. I got to about day 53 out of 135 days, and I sent it home.
Now you had asked Mom.
Yeah.
To keep a journal every day.
Yep.
And the random days I'd go visit, she'd invite me over for dinner, family gatherings and what have you. She would have that out.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to take a look at that?
I glanced at like the first couple sentences of the first entry, and then some at the last entry when I came home. But skimming through it, there's like some weird stuff in there. There was like a pit bull attack somewhere in the neighborhood, and
yeah, that just happened.
Yeah.
Tell me about that when I just missed you for dinner the other night.
Yeah. So before I left, I gave Mom a journal to write because I like hearing about Mom's days and what's going on and stuff. And she wrote in it every day, man.
Trust me, as much as I brag about being the awesome one, you being gone for this long, you were truly missed by everybody.
Yeah,
your presence was definitely very much missed.
I got messages from people. The closer I got to the end, that's when people really were like, this year, like this summer, like TJ, a couple of my other friends, they were like, this is just a weird summer without you, man. Like, your presence, it was not the same.
Right.
Which
now,
was, I that was, it was nice to hear, but it was also like, oh, okay, I guess I can't go anywhere anymore.
now, I was nothing but supportive when you were training, and as much as I wanted to talk to you, I also didn't want to bother you on the trail. And I know you welcomed all the messages, and I would just send once a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Words of encouragement, and every now and then you post a picture of the Goonies coin that I gave you. I thought that was kind of neat.
I would always pull that out when there was like an exceptionally great place to take the picture.
Yeah.
So every time that you see one of those, it's like, this is a good spot for that.
I just thought it was cool that you kept it with you.
Yeah, it was in my hip belt for most of the hike, and then my one of my hip belt zippers broke, so I was down to one hip belt pocket, and then I started carrying it. I ended up getting a new, when that hip belt zipper broke, I ended up getting a new pair of shorts as well, because my other ones were just getting torn apart, and my new pair of shorts had a little zipper pocket inside a pocket, so that's where I kept the coin. It stayed in my pocket.
Now I know Jen had sent you a guardian angel coin.
Yeah, actually that's in my wallet. I still have that in here.
Oh yeah, pull it out. Hold it up. I think the camera can capture some of it. I'm not going to try to zoom in or anything, but...
Yeah, I thought that was really neat. I don't know if I can...
Yeah, that was one that she had with her when she's going to listen to this, and I'm drawing a total blank.
Wasn't it South America?
I think somewhere in South America she had that with her.
Pretty neat little thing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
About that big. And totems are a big thing on the trail.
Are they?
Almost every hiker I met had some type of totem that they brought with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Dad gave me his golden horn, his Italian horn, which was really neat. Colleen sent out. He's had
that thing forever.
I know, almost our entire lives.
Yeah.
Colleen sent me a it's like a compass, but with like a gem on it, and it's the Northern Star. I made this reference in a note to her or something that I wrote about how she was like a guiding star or something. Mm-hmm. It was this whole romantic thing, but.
Colleen. Now we'll touch base on this because people are gonna want to know more, and I don't know if we'll have time to get to everything. She had met you out there.
Yeah.
Like halfway through ish.
So I mean, to put it shortly, I did some soul searching while I was out there and realized that Colleen was, this great thing that I may have missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hold of her and told her, how I felt about it and what I think we could have had, and we started patching things up and talking regularly, and then eventually she asked if she could drive out and hike a little bit with me.
That's awesome.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely, come on out.
That's fantastic.
That was just after the Sierras. Well, she hiked some of the Sierras with me.
Okay.
And then she hiked almost half of Oregon. And then we were just doing, because it was Oregon's flat, we were putting in like 25-mile days
Let's jump ship and talk about some of the people that you met on the trail. Obviously, you mentioned Mama Cass. You met her day 2.
Yeah, Mama Cass is great. I can't say enough great things about her. And she really did have just amazing trail strategies.
I guess Mom invited her to Christmas.
So
that'd be great to meet her too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to do a reunion episode.
Cool.
So folks, be prepared for more tales from Hiker Larry and special guest Mama Cass.
And Bear Hug. Bear Hug's the other special guy. Mama Cass, like I said, I can't say enough great things about her trail strategy, getting to and from town, how many miles we should hike, just because it would be like, well, if we hike 20 today and 25 the next day, when we hike into town, we're only hiking this many miles, which means more time to do nothing in town. Like stuff like that, like things that we wouldn't even think of.
Okay.
And it seems simple, but sometimes I overcomplicate things and I try to like strategize and make things a little bit more complicated than they need to be. But then she just seemed to always have this really great plan, and it like trumped everybody else's. It was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So it was awesome having somebody like her to kind of help lead us, and she really was like our ambassador. She was our leader. If there was a possibility of trail magic, she would be the one to make the approach and try to get it, or she'd try to like yogi something. Yogi is like Yogi Bear would steal the picnic. So
stealing the picnic basket.
Yeah, so we would try to yogi some sodas from people.
Okay.
She was really good at it. Also, she if you're hiking all day and you got to try to get a hitch, she'd be really the best person to get a hitch, and she would always sit in front and chit chat because she knew that none of us were up for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I mean, like I said, she was just awesome, and she's just a great spirit too. Like her whole vibe, she's just very positive, you know. And she always had like interesting things to talk about, and she always had like for somebody who's only 22, she would make references that you and I would get
right
from the 80s. And it's like, you're 22. How do you know this?
You were just born in like 98.
But like
Stop
I said,
it.
she's an old soul, so
cool.
it made sense. And then Bear Hug. I met him after, well, I had gotten to Kennedy Meadows South.
Now, was Bear Hug one of the guys that you were eating those burgers with when you sent some pictures or something? Or
No, that was Bam.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I bring up Mama Cass and Bear Hug first because I started with Mama Cass, a.k.a. the Wild Child. She started as Mama Cass. She ended as Wild Child. But Bear Hug, him and I actually hiked quite a few miles alone. In the Sierras, and we really connected there. And then basically from that point on, we were just like we were buds. We wanted to make sure that we hiked together as much as we could. And you know, same with Mama Cass. Basically, like because we had hiked so many miles together, like those were the two I had to finish with. And we had a larger group. We had Bam, Buttercup, Mickey, Smokey, Bubbles, Root, Flashdance. All these crazy characters, man. And at one point, we all were hiking and camping at the same campsite
I remember the
together.
one picture. There was like 12 of you. That might be
there was
much,
a bunch of us,
there
man.
was a bunch of you.
But, you know, trail habits differ. The amount of mileage that people want to put in each day, it starts to change. And if somebody wants to do 20, but another person wants to do 25, you may not see that person for the rest of the hike.
Wow.
You know? And that's how quick it can happen.
Well, it's because they're not going to wait for you.
Right. They just want to do their own thing.
They want to do their thing and they want to hike. And
yeah, so we had... you know, and Bam and Buttercup, we hiked with them for a while. Jenga, we met him. I forget exactly where we met Jenga, but he was another cool guy. We had a really good group of dudes that we were hiking with, and I was fortunate enough to be able to hike with each of them at some point alone for a long enough time to kind of get their life story and just hear them tell, like, you know, what's your life story? You know, like Bam, he was kind of like this all-American athlete, like a kind of like a Rudy type story. And it was awesome. And then Root, he had this insane story about how he toured as with the Grateful Dead making tie-dye shirts in the parking lot, and that turned into a multi-million-dollar business for him. Yeah, just all these crazy stories, man, and crazy characters that you meet out there. And there was one PCT hiker in the past. She said that it's definitely about the people. And for somebody like me who started off wanting solitude, you learn very quickly that that's absolutely correct. It really is about the people that you meet out there. Whether it's in one way or another a support, or if it's just like when I met Rev near the end, 67-year-old retired reverend, out there doing YouTube videos, completing his PCT hike. That dude, him and I talked all day. When we met up, it was like he was keeping pace with me right on my butt, and it was a conversation the whole time. When you talk on trail, especially if it's a good conversation, man, the miles just go down like it's nothing.
You say it's about the people. Having done this now, having completed the 2,653 miles or whatever, could you have done it alone? Or did you find?
I think that the solitude that I was looking for, I think that would have had a negative effect on me. And I don't know. I think that because I'm stubborn, I would have completed it. Just because I don't have I don't quit. Like I have a no quit attitude when it comes to stuff like this. But the solitude, there were days where like the desert in the beginning was okay because that's kind of just I was used to that. That was my only experience with it, right? So hiking alone was like, okay, this is good. This is what I wanted. But then you start meeting the people and you're like, this is good. And then you get to camp. You get to camp with those people, and you're like, "This is great. This is even better than camping alone." And then after you've hiked with people for a little while, and you said camp alone, that's a loneliness that I don't ever want to experience again.
So instead of finding that solitude you wanted,
I found it.
You found lasting friendships too.
Yeah. I found the solitude I was looking for, and I found it not in being alone completely. I found it in the silence of the mountains.
Okay.
And this is kind of where it starts to be, you know, kind of philosophical.
Go for it, man. This is all about you. This is what the people want to hear.
So I found the solitude in the silence of the mountains. And when you stop moving and you just listen to the mountains.
That's like some Tolkien shit right there,
dude,
man.
But when you stop moving and you listen to the mountains, there's this silence that completely takes over you, and then you start to realize where you are, and then it's like this. It really just it's almost too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like the silence almost becomes too loud. And
I get it.
And then you once you get to that point, you start moving again.
It's like I use an oxymoron. It's like a thunderous silence.
Yeah, it really is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're not just the mountains, but you find that I'm gonna assume. Obviously, can't speak from experience, but I assume you find a different type of solitude in the various landscapes. Like the mountains will speak to you in a certain way.
It sort of comes at you the same each
Okay.
time. But the more time you spend with people,
Mm-hmm.
and like camping with them on the trail, the harsher that silence gets.
Okay.
Because it's solitude, but if
Right.
you don't want to be alone, you don't have a choice. Like, yeah, you want your friends there, but they're not there. Like, you are by yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, the silence could be like this warming, introspective moment. But then at the same time, like 2 days later when you're by yourself, it could just be the most devastating thing happening to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would never thought look at it that way. Thought to look at it that way. That's
Well, there's only a few things that you can look at.
Yeah,
On the trail.
I mean, yeah, I
You're
guess
looking
so.
at your shadow, your feet, the landscape.
yeah.
That's really
And let's I mean, we can get as philosophical as you want to get, but let's talk about the landscapes that you saw. You experienced
everything.
deserts, mountains, grasslands, forests, probably denser forests than the forest you just left. You saw it all.
Yeah.
What I don't know. Let me set up a couple part question here. What was the easiest? What was the harshest climates? The harshest terrain? And what did you most enjoy? Did you enjoy it all? Give it all to us.
There's a lot of levels because of how much the landscape changes. Like, yeah, okay, I hiked 700 miles in the desert, but what you don't know is that a lot of those days we're hiking up in like pine trees in the mountains, where there's like springs and rivers in the desert.
Okay.
In the desert, like you imagine the desert, you think when Lone Star's walking in the desert looking for water with barf.
You only have one more dune to go.
Yeah. That's how I imagine
Right.
the desert. The desert I hiked in was mountainous. It was rocky. It was very green. There were lots of like bushes and trees along the trail. There was a whole section going up switchbacks where I was just bushwhacking. Couldn't see anything. I couldn't see the trail. I'm just pushing my way through bushes. But it was a trail somewhere in there. There was a trail. So okay, the place that was the easiest was definitely Oregon. There's
you
actually
mentioned it was the flattest, right?
Yeah. Now there's a saying that I learned from Bear Hug, he learned it from another hiker.
Okay.
The saying goes that the desert is survival, the Sierras is strength, Washington and Oregon is speed and endurance. And I say that at the end that they are speed and endurance because they are both one and the same.
Okay.
Both of those states have to be those things. Oregon is speed and endurance because a lot of people will do the 24-hour challenge where they see how many miles they can hike in 24 hours.
Is that when you were doing night hikes?
No.
Okay.
Night hikes were kind of a rare thing for me. I don't like doing night hikes. But yeah, so Oregon and Washington are speed and endurance. Okay. And Washington is also speed and endurance because the mountains that you have to climb up there, at the speed you have to climb up there to beat the weather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I can ask a weather question to build off that. When we were hiking Pictured Rocks, hiking for me, there was a huge storm that was rolling in. We're on the cliff of Pictured Rocks, and it just overtook us.
Yeah.
Relatively quickly. Was it like that, or faster, or?
So when a storm, we didn't have weather on the PCT. This was a very good year for the PCT.
Okay.
Like I said, 90% of the trail we had sunny and 85-degree weather.
That's awesome.
With, like no clouds. It rained on us once in the Sierras, and it was right before we got out of the Sierras. We had 11 miles to go. Beautiful sunny days before this. 11 miles to go, and it's up into a mountain range.
Okay.
Hails, drops, just buckets of rain on us. That picture, that little clip of me hiking up in the red jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was a fun picture.
That was Mordor, for sure. There's this peak. I got a couple pictures of it, but it's like this grassy peak that goes up like this and then drops into just black rocks.
Wow.
It was awesome. Oh yeah, and then you asked like what terrain was like my favorite, easiest. Like the easiest terrain was definitely Oregon. It's very flat but very dry.
Okay.
I would say that Oregon is basically a forest desert because there we had some long water carries and we had a couple of water caches.
Okay.
So like I was thinking like water caches in Oregon. Where's the rivers? There were rivers there, but surprisingly not many. There were two really hard places to hike. The Sierras. Once my body realized that it wasn't going to get any easier, my feet were always in pain.
Mm-hmm.
If we left and came back to resupply,
right,
we had to climb down from the mountains, and then climb back into the mountains with 7 days worth of food on us. So we had these massive food bags filled with food, and hiking on rocks every day. Like I hiked in a pair of shoes called Ultra Lone Peak 4.5. Amazing shoe. I wish I had hiking boots in the Sierras though.
Oh wow!
Because my feet were killing me. I eventually realized that I could get Dr. Scholl's gel insert for the sole, and then that kind of corrected it, and my feet were fine the rest of the hike. Only got blisters once, and that was in the desert when I was just getting started, putting the 20 miles a day down. It made sense. After that, never had a blister again. Oh. So yeah, Oregon was the easiest. The hardest parts were the Sierras, and then there was this section of Washington, which everybody says is the second hardest part of the trail. Sierra's number one.
Mm-hmm.
This part of Washington, which is also where it rained for 4 days straight. And let me tell you about this. We had miles and miles of switchbacks going up.
Okay, hold on.
Switchback is, instead of going up a mountain direct, the switchback is a trail that's carved back and forth. It's a zigzag up the mountain so that the elevation change is gradual rather than immediate. And this part of the trail, if it had been dry, would have still have been one of the hardest parts of the trail. But I was hiking with this guy named Kitchen Sink. This is also when I met Rev.
Kitchen Sink.
And dude, Kitchen Sink, he was a hell of a guy.
These nicknames are great. I love it.
He was great, man. I loved hiking with him. We called it our Type 2 fun.
Okay.
Which is, fun you had after the fact, like when you talk about it. But while it was going on, it was very serious. Like, the temperature was just warm enough for us to not die, but cold enough to be dreadful. And we had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning for 4 days straight at the command of Kitchen Sink, because he wanted to get the miles in, and there was no way for us to get those miles in unless we woke up earlier. So we got up at 3:30 in the morning. We got on trail just a little bit after 4 a.m., putting all of our soaking wet clothes back on in the dark, and then hiked up these switchbacks where we had to bushwhack.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
I almost killed Rev.
But,
well, I wouldn't say I almost killed him. I almost knocked him off a mountain.
Like on purpose?
No, accidentally.
Okay.
This really stiff tree branch. It was a tree. It was a type of tree we hadn't really seen too much of on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
It was a definitely deciduous-leaved tree, and it got between my shoulder and my pack, and I went walking forward, and it just yanked me back. And I was like, "Oh, geez!" So I'd stumble back a little bit, and Rev, he would hike a little too close.
Okay.
But it didn't matter because it was never an issue unless I ended up having to step back immediately. So I stepped back immediately. He kind of stumbles. When I turned around, so Rev is a 67-year-old guy. He's got a gray beard, and he's got his 2 trekking poles dug in. The trail is like right there, almost at his chin. He's got one leg up on the trail, the other one's off, and he's just dangling on. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm coming." So I walk over to him, and he's just like, "I got it." And Rev just pulls himself up.
Wow.
And gets back to it, and he's like, "I'm good. Let's go."
That's insane.
Oh, it was nuts, man. The image I have, because it was dark, and raining, and slippery, and just a nightmare. And then we had to keep going for more miles.
That doesn't sound like anything I want to do.
But then the sun came out, and it came out where we had to cross this massive river, and there was a nice bridge. So we took all of our gear out, spread it across this bridge, and the sun was in the right spot, shined down on all of our gear, and we finally got to get dry.
How long were you guys like in wet gear?
4 days.
Oh,
4 days, and it didn't really let up either. Like we got to Stehekin, and we had one nice day. So we couldn't really hang out there for very long, so we didn't get lunch or anything. We just got our resupply box from town and got back out on trail. We hiked 11 miles away from Stehekin, which Stehekin is the last place that's your last resupply. And then it's like it should be like a 6 or 7 day hike to Hart's Pass, to the terminus, including the hike back to Hart's Pass, which is where you get down off the trail. Okay. But once we got up to Hart's Pass, the rain came, and I made this decision because my sleeping bag got soaked. The temperature was going to be in the 30s at night. Consistent rain. Kitchen Sink went on ahead. A couple other hikers that we had met along the trail, they were all ahead. Yeah. So that means that their finish was 3 days in the rain, stop at the terminus, take a picture, hike back in the rain, get off the mountain in the rain.
That's not how you wanted to end.
No.
But we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We got a lot more to talk about.
Oh yeah, there's so much shit that happened in between.
Now, one thing that I wanted to ask you about, it's you know, you obviously did a bunch of shit on the trail, but there's a town that like you're helping to build.
Well, yeah,
Ish?
we weren't planning on helping to build anything.
Okay, so what was that town?
Okay, so-
and explain that photo that you sent. Say, to build the clock tower.
Oh
Whatever the
yeah,
hell it was.
so there's these little weird, quirky trail towns,
I don't want to say it like that.
and some of them are like right on the trail.
Okay.
Hiker Town specifically, it's like the trail goes right through this person's property, and this person's property it's a house in the desert, and they have these outbuildings. They're all connected like little strip malls, you know, and there's no windows on any of them. So they're just like these saunas, but that a hiker can sleep in there. Like there's a cot or a bed or whatever, and you can stay in them, and it's kind of nice as long as you keep the door open. Now the great thing about Hiker Town being there is that there's a market down the street, and they have a deal with a driver that will pick hikers up, drop you off.
Oh,
but anyway, that's just a little bit about Hiker Town. So Hiker Town, while we were there, one of the women that lived there asked if we wouldn't mind helping raise up a clock tower. It was just like
it was a clock tower.
It
right?
was a facade, basically, for a storefront.
Yeah.
And I said a clock tower, but it was just this extra piece of wood that was decorative, and then we put a clock that didn't work on it. But it took 4 or 5 guys of us to do it. I took a time lapse of us putting the damn thing up.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, you can find that on Larry's Facebook. Everybody knows how to get there.
Yeah, or my Instagram. But yeah, we put that up, and it's really nice considering that we were able to be a part of that. Like Hiker Town has been there, and me and that small group of guys, we helped put a piece of it together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's like one of the reasons that we were so gun ho about like, yeah, we'd love to do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I like the picture and the caption. I mean, you explained it a little bit, but it's really cool to hear.
Yeah,
you tell like more and go in depth with what like Hiker Town is and what those people do for the hikers just out of the goodness of their.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
In fact, if I was reading it correctly, there's still people at Hart's Pass ready and willing to give hikers down or give a ride to hikers off the mountain. Hart's Pass is covered in snow right now, but there's trail angels that are up there just because they want to help the hikers.
Wow.
Yeah, that type of generosity too. Like, I consider myself a pretty selfless person, and I'll be generous in any way that I can. You know.
Can I have some money?
If I had some money, I mean, you don't need it, do you?
No. Well, look at my studio.
But
it's so. No.
To experience this whole different level of selflessness is just incredible.
And and it's probably not just with the trail angels; it's with your fellow hikers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have to be that way to work
just,
together.
Yeah, we're all out there pursuing the same thing. And if someone can spare some food somehow, like if somebody's resupply didn't show up, but they also were like, well, I was counting on that resupply. It's like, okay, well, I got 6 days worth of food right here, man. I bought too much stuff here. Or like there was one time we were staying at a Trail Angel's house, and the post office lady couldn't find my package. I gave her the tracking number, she couldn't find it. I was like, okay, so I guess it's not here. So I went to the sporting goods store and bought 7 days worth of food. And then I'm like, wait a second, something's not right. It says it's delivered. So I go back in there, I get somebody else, and the guy's like, yeah, it's right here.
What'd you do with your 14 days worth of food?
Well, I think I sent some of it up to the next city.
Okay.
And then somebody else was able to use some of it too.
Oh, that's good.
Like, here, I'm sure you can buy me some food somewhere else down the line.
Right.
Or one of the things that we did just to make things easier was like if we were doing hotels, like, okay, I'll just get the 2 hotel rooms, put them under my name. You guys, you'll pay me back another day.
Yeah.
Or you get the next hotel or whatever. Just because it would be easier.
Now this was after you had already made your little group of people that you were hiking with, because you're
like,
not just gonna do it with some random.
Between Bear Hug and Mama Cass and myself, we were just. We don't even know if anybody owed anybody money. It was like it's just easier right now for us to put it all on one bill. If you want me, I'll send you whatever the money is.
I mean, when you guys all get back and get reacclimated, you know, if that ever came up, you owe me $50. No, it's not going to. Though,
we didn't care.
It's not
we didn't care.
That's not the point of doing it.
To me, it didn't matter. Like I remember, me and Bear Hug hiked. I don't know. We hiked like 5 or 6 miles in like less than 2 hours. Which was like, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
And
so, I want to interrupt you.
I wanted to buy him a burger, and he was like, no, you ain't got to do that. And he was very, like, he'd always be like, no, you don't got to buy me nothing. Yeah. But I was like, no, this is celebration, dude. We just kicked this trail's ass, And also, like, we finally got to hike together, and it's been fucking rad. So, like, let me buy you a burger.
Yeah.
So we get to Reds Meadows, and this place is, like, in the middle of nowhere. And I think I spent,
the whole trail's in the middle
well, yeah,
of nowhere.
This is like it was like a resort kind of place, but they had burgers and drinks. I spent $50 on 2 burgers and 2 drinks. It was good burgers, though.
All right.
It was good burgers.
Now you mentioned Celebration. Now there's a video that you had posted, or you had posted that somebody took of you. You were like probably, I don't know, I want to say you maybe a couple hundred miles into this thing. You're running, like you're finishing a race to get to a Coke. You had some pop waiting for you or something.
Oh, that had to be Hiker Town, because somebody, it was like I was running through a fence and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that day, let me tell you about that day. That day was one of the hotter days that I can recall.
Okay.
And there were some days where it just felt easier to run. So
really?
Yeah, because you're doing the same thing, and also like from a running mindset, it's like, well, I've only got 5 miles left. I can either have this take 2 hours at 2.5 miles per hour, or an hour and a half if I run. I think I'm gonna run.
Well, yeah, hour and a half because the terrain's not flat.
Yeah. And also in the desert, the desert was notorious for this. You go alongside a mountain, in and out, staring at the same shit for hours and hours, and eventually like, okay, I gotta get this over with. And when you look at your map, you're like, I gotta go. I can't do this anymore. So I would just take off, and before I got there, I actually had been running for about 5 or 6 miles through the desert to get down to Hiker Town, and there were a couple hikers already there, and we had met already on trail, and they were recording me as I was coming in.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool thing because
that was a hot day too.
I remember it had to be Mom or something saying, yeah, he was running because they had a Coke waiting for you or something, and it was like you said, it was one of the best days.
Yeah.
So that you had experienced so far.
Yeah. And let me tell you that after hiking for like 5 or 6 days in the desert,
on a horse with no name,
a glass cold bottle of Coke. Woo! That is like the most refreshing goddamn thing ever.
That's why the people look so happy in the commercials. They just hiked 5 days.
No, my 2 favorite trail snacks was Coca-Cola. Like as soon as I got to town, first thing I went for was a Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Not in the plastic bottle. It had to be either in a can or in a glass bottle. If they didn't have it, I'd get something else. And then gummy bears. Multiple nights in my tent, just laying there with gummy bears on my belly, just eating those things. And not feeling 1 ounce of guilt. I don't eat before I go to bed, but gummy bears on the trail at night, I'll eat 2 pounds of that stuff.
Dude, just because you're hiking 20 miles a day didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter. And it felt great. Now I'm back here, I gotta pay attention to the calories now.
Well, because it's funny, I'd go over to Mom and Dad's house. Oh, that's so Larry's resupply. I was like, does he really need 10 pounds of gummy bears? Can I have some?
Yes, I needed that.
I was like, fine, I won't have any.
I forget where I was. It was at some supermarket, I think in Tehachapi. So this would have been about 500 miles in before I started the gummy bear thing. I went to the grocery store picking up my first, it wasn't my first, but it was I was putting together a full resupply for a long stretch. And I saw the gummy bears, and I'm like, ooh, I can eat those. And then, I don't know, there was, I didn't want to be gluttonous. Mm-hmm. A lot of people they'll order a ton of food when they go into town, or they'll do, the food challenges, eat 5 pounds of pancakes, which is, that's one of the challenges on the PCT. But
I can eat, but that's a lot of pancakes.
I think I was relatively reasonable with the amount of food that I would eat, even in town versus on trail. It was all reasonable. I didn't overindulge. If I was packing up food, I would bring, a bag of chips, and then my gummy bears was, my big snack.
You had gummy bears from, you said, about 500 miles in?
Yeah, and
then always had gummy bears the rest of the way?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I think on my last resupply, I had to ration them a bit, because when I got back because we slack packed at the end to get to the terminus and back. We set up camp, left our tents and some of our gear there, and then came back. I made sure to have...
We don't speak trail.
I'll define that more when we do the second episode, but I made sure to have a certain amount of gummy bears. I got to a point where I knew, based on how many gummy bears were in the Ziploc bag, if it was going to make me tired after eating that many. So if the bag was this full, I'd fall asleep tired after eating gummy bears. Because you know how you get tired after eating a lot of food? I would get sleepy after eating the gummy bears. But if it was only this much, it's I'm going to be wanting more gummy bears after that.
Now, since we're hovering around food, what was, and then I'll build off this, what was your main diet while you were hiking?
The main thing, there were two things that were
What would you carry in your pack?
Okay, so the two things that were very consistent, well, I think it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me were very consistent throughout the entire hike. I started off eating bars for breakfast, tuna for lunch, and a backpacker dinner, like the dehydrated dinners for dinner. I would say that was consistently my diet through the whole thing, and I never got sick of it.
And then on like your 0 days when you'd go into town or whatever it was there anything that you were happy to see that you could get, like an omelet for breakfast or something like that?
Well, I kept my breakfasts in town simple. I always liked over medium eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast.
Okay, that's simple. Yeah.
That most restaurants had that.
Right. So you didn't seek out an indulgence when you, other than your gummy bears.
No. The Cokes. I definitely went hard on the Cokes.
Okay.
I would drink a lot of Cokes. There was 1 0. This was one of the best 0 days I had. This was in Packwood, Washington, and so it was closer to the end. But the best 0 I had, we decided to do just like an impromptu 0-0. So we get to Packwood, taking a 0. Kitchen sink shows up. He's like, "Well, I'm taking a 0." And they look at Bear Hug and Mama Cass. I'm like, "You guys, I did the math on the calendar. We can take 2 zeros here." And of course they're like, "Okay."
Wow.
So that first full day at Packwood was one of my favorite 0s because I don't know why I didn't do this in the past at other places along the trail, but I went to the store in the morning. I got a couple of sodas because it was all closed by the time we got there. I went to the store, got a couple of sodas.
You hear that? Sodas.
And a bag of spicy nacho Doritos, the big bag.
Oh, those are so good.
Yeah. Stayed in my hotel room with no clothes on and just drank Cokes and ate that whole bag of Doritos. And, like, I used to have a limit with Doritos, man. With lots of foods, I'd have a limit. That limit's not there right now.
Yeah, like, I have a limit with Cheez-Its. 1 box.
I'll eat I'll eat that whole box, and there's like, where's the rest of them? That's where I'm at right now.
You've exceeded my limit.
Yeah. Like, I bought a bag of candy corn, because it's tradition for me in October to have candy corn.
I'm slacking. I have yet to have candy corn.
I could have eaten the whole bag yesterday, dude.
Why didn't you bring any? We could be, like,
I
throwing it in each
I
other's
always forget
mouths.
that you like candy corn.
You and I are the only ones.
I always forget, and I don't know why.
It was all made in 1902. I lost my train of thought now that we're on candy corn.
We're talking about
food and stuff. The burgers you would eat.
I actually got burgered out.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if I got burgered out or restauranted out.
Okay.
Because near the end of the hike, anytime we got to a town, the first thing I thought was, well, if we're staying in a hotel and doing a 0, that means 2 nights in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
One of the nights I'm having food brought to me because I don't want to go get it. Now that one stretch where we were off in that Motel 6 for a few days,
okay.
I ordered pizza. That was like my second time ordering pizza to my hotel, and it was so nice. Like, I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to talk to the group. I mean, Bear Hug and Mama Cass, we were always really easy to going about getting food, but I didn't have to text anybody else. I just Domino's app, bring it to this room number, thank you.
Yeah,
and they brought me my food. Didn't have to put on clothes, but put on underpants. But
to answer the door.
Well, they have the no contact delivery, so they set it out in front of the door, knock, and then they leave. So I didn't have to put that many clothes on.
All right.
So yeah, I did that.
There you go, ladies. Picture that.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm gonna be starting an OnlyFans page. It's gonna be like naughty hiker nudes of me.
Naughty hiker nudes.
You think there's an audience for that?
NHN.
Yeah.
Let's get into something a little more. Part of the reason you went out there, you did some soul searching.
Yeah.
And we can obviously tell, even just by that video that you posted, you've changed.
Oh yeah.
What were you looking for anything internally? Like what? Like it was basically like this was your, as Native Americans, vision quest.
Yeah. Or as Joe, like our older brother, would say, it was my quarter life crisis.
Your quarter life? I can dig it.
My quarter life crisis.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the main reason I did this was it was to be an exercise in being the master of my own time.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most valuable thing any one of us has, and I don't want to give that up for anything now. Like it has to be worth it for me now. So Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, no thank you. Don't want it. Unless I absolutely have to do that.
Worth it for you?
Huh?
Thank you.
I just don't think that I don't think that my time means that much to the place that would employ me. I don't care to do that. I want to do things that give me more freedom with my time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it means I got to work until I'm 100 years old. I don't care. As long as that work is, giving me the time that I want to myself,
mm-hmm.
rather than the majority of it to some paycheck that barely gets me by. And, I mean, that sounds kind of naive and childish, but I don't care.
But, I mean, in a world as chaotic as we live in now, being the master of something, as you want to be the master of your own time.
I want to be the master of the most important thing that any of us has in this world. And I don't think that there's any shame in that.
No, I don't.
But I feel like setting out to do something like that, I mean, there's so many things that I've gained perspective on. Like, one of the interesting things is, we do the distance running.
The mic is yours, my friend. Tell your fans.
So, it would take me about 4 hours to hike 10 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back home, I can run 6 in less than an hour.
Show off.
So, if I want to run 10 miles in a day, that's less than 2 hours of running.
Mm-hmm.
My perspective on being able to run 10 miles in a day has completely changed. That's one of my goals coming back now is I'm going to try to consistently run 10 miles a day or every other day because my mindset has changed. Those miles don't seem as hard or as long anymore because it's just a small part of the day.
Right. I dig that.
Yeah. I mean, and like, obviously, I've changed physically. Like, I started off at 230 pounds, and I just weighed myself the other day. I'm at 194. So I'm pretty happy about that. Getting that, because I didn't like
if you cut your hair, there's another 5 pounds.
Yeah. Well, that's probably not going to happen. But there's a lot of things that changed, and some of them are more, like, microscopic things that are just, it's stuff that's, like, inside, that, like, my behavior inside, like the way that I think, the way that I'm processing things, like returning home, like hiker depression is a real thing, like post-trail depression, that's a real thing. I'm hoping I don't experience that. Like right now I'm still kind of like on this really positive like wave, and hopefully I can keep that going. But there, like the microscopic things are, you do a thing for 6 months. And then you stop doing that thing.
Right.
There's this anxiety of you no longer doing that thing. But it comes because you're supposed to be doing something. Like I should be preparing for my next 20 miles to hike tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what's the weather going to be? Did you get food? How much food you have? Where's the water? These things that you start going, that you used to have to do every single day on the trail, you have to kind of tuck that away. And yesterday, actually, I started going through my gear, and I was starting to pack it away. I was putting it in storage bags and putting it in my little box in the basement. And as I was doing that, I was putting things in my normal day pack that I would have brought on my thru hike. Like, I don't need to bring my water filter with me. Like, I carry around a backpack usually.
Right.
My water filter doesn't need to go there.
But instinctively, you were...
Yeah, instinctively I'm thinking, like, well, you could, like, if you were at the Detroit River or something and you had your water, you could filter your water. But it's like, I'm in civilization. I don't need to worry about it. And that's kind of like the initial stuff. Obviously, I have some, like, real-world things I have to take care of. Finding a job. Which, yeah, that's whatever. Selling my house. But that's all, like, that's the real-world stuff. And I don't feel like I've been fully integrated back to the real world yet.
No, you're still riding, as runners would say, you're on that runner's high.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful that you asked me the day you got back, basically, when can I come into the soup can?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just for me. I mean, this is a great chance for me to talk to you because all your friends want to see you. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they had no summer with Larry.
Yeah.
I had no summer with my brother. And not that we do everything, but there would be those times we'd go riding.
There's one of the things, it was actually the number one thing that people were like, well, what are you going to miss most? Like, what do you think you're going to miss most? And to me, it was family barbecues.
Yeah.
That was the number one thing.
We tried to do a dummy Larry.
Oh my God, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. So, for nobody that realized what they did, they actually made a dummy that you could rent, and the money that you paid to rent me, they would PayPal me. Now, I don't think they didn't take off, which is fine. But the idea is genius.
The idea was
they made a
genius,
replica imposter me, dressed it in my clothes, and then they brought it to the family gatherings. So I got back into town sometime, and I get a bunch of text messages, and it's family photos with a dummy version of me. It's got my face on it, and they're just hanging out. It was floating around in the swimming pool at Auntie Etta's and Uncle Ray's.
Yep.
And he was chilling on the fence, and they had a can of Zevia, because that's like my favorite soda is Zevia. And yeah, it was fucking hilarious, man.
It was great. Then I don't know. It was just I'm glad you're here sharing. We'll continue this.
Oh, are we wrapping it up?
I mean, we could probably keep going, but
Has it been an hour?
It's been, dude, we're over an hour.
Oh shit.
But we can keep going if you want.
No. I mean, keep it watchable. I mean, an hour is.
But please come back.
I will.
Finish the tale of Hiker Larry on the PCT. I want to hear not just me, but everybody who followed you. Again, you were an inspiration in a time of unprecedented, whatever you want to call it, mass confusion. You brought light and levity to that. It's like we said earlier, it's an interesting side effect. But we covered a lot of the questions that people had asked us were answered. But on the next episode, when you come back, we all want to know how you felt when you finished. We'll leave that, all the emotions you felt leading up to that conclusion of your...
Got a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cliffhanger.
Well, I got one, though.
Oh.
The way that I felt when I finished was not at all what I expected.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say, until next time, in the soup can, I'm your host, Campbell's, with special guest, Hiker Larry. Thank you again. Wave to the camera. Okay, later. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. And thank you for listening to the Soup Can, where we ask the burning question, soup no O.